back and praise my back. You better pray you don't make me mad. Cause these six, they don't leave no mark. Look at me, but don't look me in the eye. I'm the king of the world. Really, really come on. Really, really come on. Really come. Really, really come through. Clap your hands. Really come. These six, they don't leave no mark. 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 I'm the king of the world. Till they come on. Till they come on. Get it again, till they come. Till they come through. Clap your hands. Till they come.
Alrighty. How y'all doing? How you doing? Huh? Welcome to Gen Con. Man, this is a lot different. There wasn't a line outside this studio. It was pretty quick coming in here. Didn't get lost. It was pretty easy. Got my Neuroshima. We're doing good. So today we're going to talk about Neuroshima Hex. We're going to look at what it takes to play it, what it's all about. A lot of people see this game as an abstract game for two players, and I think they'd be wrong. There's a lot of theme in this, but it does have that feel. Hey, Andre. It does have that feel for sort of a chess, checkers, that kind of thing going on. I like what Z Garcia calls it, a knife fight in a phone booth, right? Got a small area, a lot of pieces on the board. They're each doing something different. You got pluses and minuses, and all these things take place. And then at some point, they build up this powder keg, and poof, you launch it, and it all goes off. When you have two people, it's a very give and take kind of situation. But when you have multiple players, when you have 3 and 4 players, it becomes a different type of game, because you're not just looking at that other player. You're paying attention to everybody, and everybody's influencing everybody else. You can even do a team play where it's 2 against 2. So semi-co-op, right? So there's a lot to the game. I just want to sort of go over some of the rules and whatnot, and let's get into that. Let's see what we've got going on. If you have any particular questions or anything, just make sure that you put them in the chat. I'm looking at it. So let's do that. But without further ado, the easiest way for me to do this is to go right over here to the old Neuroshima Hex rulebook. So let's see, that would be this right here. There we go. So here in the Neuroshima Hex rulebook, we got a lot of stuff, but there's the game board. And basically the way that the game board is set up here, I'll show you this. The game board is set up right like this. And you have your main area. So inside this darker line is the main area. Now, normally they would say you'd play up to 4 people would play on the inside here, and that this outside line is for 5 and 6 player games. So that is pretty crazy. I don't know. I've never played a 5 or 6 player game, but I will say this. In a 4 player game, you can actually expand it that way, and it doesn't feel as closed in. You feel like you've got some maneuvering. You can do a little more tactical stuff instead of being forced into different things. So I enjoy using that outer rim, sometimes even in a 3 player game. It just all depends on what you want to do. So you can take advantage of those. Basically, what you're going to do is everybody is going to start out with one of these, which is a headquarters. All the headquarters have 20 points. So they start out with 20 hit points. Once they get hit, they keep on going down. If you get to 0, your headquarters is gone, and so are all your pieces. You take them off the board. And if it's a 2-player game, then the other guy wins, right? So that's basically it. But now, what I would say to you is if we're playing a 3-player game, I really like the alternate scoring. 3 or 4-player game, I would go with the alternate scoring. Instead of saying everybody's got 20 points, we're not going to do that. Everybody keeps their pieces on the board. And whenever one of your guys, hits a headquarters, right, then you move up on this. So everybody starts at 0, and you move up on this. And the first person to have done 20 points of damage to other people's headquarters is the winner. So then you eliminate this idea of a kingmaker and things like that. So those are some alternate ways to do a multiplayer game, and what I would suggest doing. And like I said, if you want to make a little more room, even in a 3-player game, just use the other hexes on the outside there, and you can really get more maneuverability and things like that. So it's definitely worth thinking about. So that's that. Let me go back to the rules. So, and then in the box, in the main game, you get 4 factions, right? You get the 4 factions, red, green, yellow, and blue. They are the Moloch. Now, thematically, the Moloch are the people who, in 2020, I think it was October of 2020, correct me if I'm wrong, the Moloch ended up being the AI that starts taking over. They launch all kinds of nuclear missiles and everything else, and they blow up the world and create havoc everywhere. Then mutation and everything happens because of the radiation and all the chemicals and gases and things like that, viruses and whatnot that are released on the world. And so Moloch is the evil Moloch. And the one thing I say about Moloch is they have the bomb. So when the bomb goes off, it kills everything, including themselves. They don't really care. You just pick one of the hexes, and that hex and every adjacent hex will blow up. So everybody gets 1 point of damage. So that's how that goes. That's one of their main big pieces. And the headquarters itself gives pluses to ranged attacks. We can talk about how modules work a little bit later, but that's what the Moloch does. The outpost is just an army it's a sort of that guerrilla army who goes around attacking Moloch where they can, trying to make a difference in the world, right? And they've got a lot of attacks, but you'll find that a lot of their attacking units also have mobility. So this guy's got 2 melee attacks and 1 ranged attack. We're going to talk about what all those mean, but that's what happens there. You can also see that they have these numbers here. Those numbers have to do with the initiative for battle. So when we get into battle, we'll say that he gets to attack on a 3 and a 2. This guy gets to attack with him on a 3, and that guy gets to attack with him on a 2. So this guy actually gets to go off twice in a battle. This guy only once because he's only got 1 initiative, right? The thing is that their base actually allows them, these 2 stars here basically say that you get to take one more initiative. So if that guy is a 3, he also, if he's next to this base, he gets to be a 3 and a 2, right? So initiatives run, highest initiative, who knows what it could be? It could be an 8, right? 8, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Nothing can be lower than a 0. There's ways that you can give negative numbers to things, but they can't be any lower than 0. So if you had a 0 that got a second attack after the 0, he wouldn't get a second attack because it'd be a negative number. That's how those initiatives run. And that's why this base is nice, because everybody who's attached to him is going to get another attack. And then, like I said, they've got a lot of mobility in their faction, the Outpost faction. Then you got the Hegemony. Now the Hegemony, they're kind of crazy. They're crazy guys. They're not really gangers or anything like that. The Hegemony is just like a group of chaos. They're only held together loosely. Oh, what you got going on, Luke? Yeah, by the way, I will say this. Old Luke, he mans the Portal Games US website, and along with a lot of other things, like putting me in nice shirts and things like this. And we've got sales on all the time at Portal. I'll show you some of the stuff that's at Portal right now for the Neuroshima Hex. There's a lot of stuff available, and you can go there and get it. And Luke's probably going to put some stuff on sale. Yeah, they got some bundles and things, so you might want to take a look at that. Anyway, the Hegemony, kind of a nomadic faction. Think Mad Max. Think Mad Max, right? And they're kind of running around creating problems, right? And their basic thing is their base gives them an extra melee attack. So if they're attached to them, they get an extra melee. It's a lot like this one, they get an extra ranged attack. This one gets an extra melee attack. Actually does extra damage. It's not actually an extra attack, but we'll get into that in a second. Yeah, well, I tell you what, sales are tempting, right? Anytime you get the game on sale, and this really is a good game. I'm telling you, everybody thinks it's 2-player. Don't do that. Sit down with your game group, pop this thing out, and have a good time. You'll want to play it more than once because, well, now I know my faction. I think I'm going to do it different this time, right? So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So then you got the Borgo, and the Borgo are kind of cybernetic, right? So they've got implants and things like that. And so, and they don't have the bomb, they got a hand grenade. It's okay. I think it does a 3 pattern, if I'm right. 3 hexes and 3 adjacent hexes. And then we've got the headquarters itself gives a +1 to initiative. So this guy's got a 1, but if you give him a +1, he'll be a 2. So he'll go off 2 instead of waiting. So it makes them a little faster if they're next to the headquarters. So those are the 4 factions that you get with the base game. And that's a lot of variability. It's all, they all have different things, like where we're messing with initiative, we're messing with melee, we're messing with ranged, we're messing with, how many attacks you get. We also have bombs, grenades, we have nets, we have things like toughness, we have things like movement, we have armor, which is shielding, and all of those things take place in there. So there's a lot of neat little variations there. But before I get into explaining this game, I want to open your eyes to this before we go really deep into it. I want you to see this. So this is Neuroshima Hex on BGG. And go down here just to give you an idea. This is Doomsday Machine. That was released 2006. They've got Mad Bomber, Iron This is the mercenaries from Alabama. I think they were in the original box. These are like here. Mephisto is another faction that you can use, an expansion, another army, and basically it has a single unit. It's just this big, freaking crazy giant maggot with the attacks, and you use all these hexes to get special attacks and whatnot. That's what it's about. You got the Steel Police, and the Steel Police have this net of justice that they send out and entrap people. They have a guy, I forgot what it's called, the Executioner, and he actually goes in and you can put him on top of another tile and he destroys that tile, and then he becomes a unit that can fight. And then you have New York, which New York is an awesome army. It's just a good, strong, tough army. Neo Jungle ends up being an army that ends up all the units can become connected together, and because they're connected, they have some benefits and whatnot through that. You have Dancer, which is really an unusual one, where the headquarters are actually multiple things. I'm not explaining it yet. I just want everybody to realize right now I want to try to get into the scope of the game, right? Here's the scope of the game. I want you guys to see Dancer has 3 headquarters, not just one. It has 3. Then you got Neuroshima, you got the Shirash, which are kind of, I don't know, animal/human things. And they attack in groups and things. They're neat. Then you have there's Doomsday Machine. Back out. We have these are like special promo units, like the Transport and Assassin. You got Vegas, which actually goes in and controls other people. And Smart. And then you have Mississippi, does a lot of poisoning. The Pair. So you get a lot of different factions and whatnot in here. We've got Europolis, and then here's like a promo pack, and actually has 5 different promos that you can use, including terrain tiles. Then you have Death Breath. There's the Carriers. There's Iron Gang, the Orbital. There's hex puzzles. So the main game comes with a hex puzzle, which is kind of like, here's the situation, how can you win? It's a puzzle, and it helps you kind of understand the rules of the game and learn different tactics. And Iron Gang has its own hex puzzle, so you can get that. And by the way, when you get the Iron Gang hex puzzle, you also get a special Iron Gang hex that you can put into your Iron Gang. And then you have Sand Runners and Troglodytes is the very brand new one, which you can put on pre-order. So all those factions, I think it's 14 factions and then a bunch of promos. Anyway, plus the 4 original, we're like 18 at least as far as the different factions you can play. And you can play up to 6 people on this board that you get. Anyway, it's a lot different, I think, than what most people think. Is you get this game, and you've got some factions, and you fight one another. It's just like a 2-player abstract game. You start really understanding the world of Neuroshima and understand what each of these factions represent and who they are. You kind of get into it, and it's fun. So now that you kind of better understand the whole, what is it? The compass, the encompassment of this thing, whatever. Let's go back into the rules, take a look at what's going on there, and let's see if we can get this thing done. So you get these reference sheets. And the reference sheets basically tell you which each hex is going to do. So it's kind of a cheat sheet. So while you're playing with that army, you can look at that. And by the way, one of the great things about this is, number one, all the hexes themselves, there's no language on them. So I could get a different language. Like you were saying, Saul, that you want it to be available in Mexico. The thing is that, whether or not it is in Spanish, if you were to get any of these factions in some other language, all you'd really need to do is translate the little paragraph that's next to each tile, and you would know exactly what those tiles did, because the tiles themselves, they just have symbols on them. And a lot of the symbols are very common. So it's just a matter of figuring it out, figuring out how to use them at that point. The base game also, instead of using that 20-point track like we did before, when you look at the game board, you have this 20-point track, and you can simply use markers to move this. The other way that you can do it is you can use these guys here. That is a 20-point tracker as well. And the base game comes with 4 of those. So you can actually use those to keep track of how many health points you've got, or how many points towards victory you go if you're playing the other way, where you're going up to 20. So that's basically it. And like I said, you do get a bonus content. You get the 55 hex puzzles, and you get some replacement tiles. They say replacement tiles, but they're also tiles that you could make something up and just have fun with it. So now, just going over the rules, we talked about scoring. That normally your HQ has 20 hit points, and if you take damage, it goes down for each damage you go. And if you get to 0, that's the end of the game. Or if you, someone runs out of tiles, everybody else gets one more turn, and then we have a final battle, and then whoever is the highest or has the most hit points left for their HQ, or whoever's accumulated the most points of damage on the other guys, would actually win the game. So that's how that works. So either you run through the 35 tiles and the game ends, or you've killed someone's headquarters. That's basically it. The game start is pretty easy. Just to start out the game, the very first thing that you'll do, like I said, is you got 35 tiles. Let's just say this blue and yellow player are playing each other. The blue player, say, goes first. He can put his blue, and we're just going to play with this inside bit, so within the dark lines. And he can put it anywhere he wants. Now, if he puts it here, you'll see that he'll have a three fronts. So 3 places where somebody can attack him. They can't attack him from here because that would be between these hexes. So any ranged weapon or any melee weapon would have to be close to him, but any ranged weapon would come here, here, or here. So that would be 3 fronts. If I put it here, I'd have 4 fronts, right? So he could put somebody beside me, he could put somebody out this way or out that way. So you start to think about those things when you're placing. You could place it right in the middle, but now you have 6 fronts, right? So those are things to think about. Not only do you have fronts that you need to defend, but you also might want to put people attached to your headquarters if your headquarters gives you a bonus. So those are things to think about when you're placing your headquarters. Once you place your headquarters, the other guy gets to place, if I pick it up, there we go. And he gets to place his headquarters. But one thing to think about too is if I put my headquarters next to his headquarters, eliminates one front. That's a possibility, right? Eliminates one front. It also, headquarters don't hurt each other. So I told you that these are melee attacks, these small triangles there. Those mean melee attacks. So those do damage to people who are adjacent to you. So it looks like both these headquarters would do melee with each other, against each other. But headquarters do not damage other headquarters. So putting this headquarters next to that headquarters actually could make sense for certain things. This guy has a bonus to melee attacks. So it may make sense to put him like this, because I could put two guys here that would have bonuses to their melee, which then would be able to do more damage to his base. So maybe we go with that configuration, right? There it is. If we want to play a 3-player game, another guy put his base down. Fine. Then here's how it works. Then once all the headquarters are placed, the first player draws one tile. So he just draws one tile. If that tile is an order, what they call a order or an action, in this case, this tile says have a battle. Well, I don't need to have a battle. So if you draw only an action tile, you can throw it away. Now that goes away forever. That's one less tile that you have, but you get to draw another tile. Oh, another action tile. I don't even know how this thing gets stirred up, but anyway, here we go. Now I've got an actual tile, right? So if you grab anything out of here that can actually be placed on the board, because action tiles are just actions. They don't get placed on the board. They make something happen, right? So those make battles happen. This one actually gets placed on the board. And as long as you draw an action tile, then that means that you can discard it anytime during the game. That if the only thing you draw on your draw is action tiles, discard them, draw a whole set of new set of tiles, trying to find something that you place on the board. If you draw one tile that you place on the board, you don't get to discard any of the other ones. It's only if all of them are action. So in this case, I have this guy here. Now my guy gets a +1 to initiative, and he's got a 3. So I could put him here, and he would end up, and I have to turn him, and I got to remember how to turn this guy. There we go. So I have to turn him. But when I turn him like that, he would actually go off on a 4. And the reason, he's got a 3, but this says +1, so he would be a 4. I'm going to show you what that means, but just know that that has to do with battle order. Okay? So he goes off on a 4. So now I've got the jump on this guy. I'm going to do damage to him, and if he tries to put somebody there, I'm going to do damage to him, right? So I know that he's going to try to put some melee guys down. So let's see what he's going to do. Now remember, I drew one tile, right? The next player draws 2 tiles, right? 1, 2. Now this one may look like an action, but it's not. It's called a module. In Monolith Arena, it would be called a rune. But this is a movement, and this one's a movement. But what that does is I can place this, say like this, and then anybody who's attached to that gets to move. Now that could also be a +1, or it could be a plus to my range. So it's just like that headquarters given a bonus. That's what a module does. It doesn't do an attack or anything like that, but all friendly units get that. Now this guy here, he doesn't get a movement because he's an enemy. If we were playing in team play, then you can share modules with your team members. So that's another thing that you can do. But in this case, I put that down. I can actually move my headquarters, so I won't have to get that damage from that guy. Bam, right like that. Now I've got another movement, so I could. Because I can only use this module once per turn. So I used it once. Now, if I want to, I can use it again. So I play this, boom, and this guy moves one more time. Right? That's it. Now, I draw him 1. The blue guy drew 1. First player drew 1. Second player drew 2. Third player would draw 3. Well, there is no third player. It's just the 2 of us. So I'm going to have the first player draw 3. And from now on, everybody's going to draw 3 tiles. Now, here's the rules with the 3 tiles. You have to discard 1. And then with the other 2, you can choose to play or discard the second one. And the third one, you can choose to play, discard, or save it for the next round. Okay? But then you wouldn't, if you saved one for the next round, you would not actually draw 3 cards or 3 tiles. You draw up to 3, right? So if I already have 1, I would only draw 2 more. And then I'd have to get rid of 1. So anyway, that being said, this is a really nice guy to take a look at. This is a guy here that has a net. So that mesh material is a net, and what it does is you take one of these and you put it on here, and that guy cannot attack. And any of his bonuses that he normally gives people, like in this one, he gives plus to their melee, those bonuses aren't given. So it eliminates that. Now, I could also go here and net this one, and then suddenly nobody that's attached to this gets to move, right? But I like the idea of making it to where now he's netted and can't run away, right? So that seems pretty good. And this guy on a 1 is going to do 3 melee damage. That's 3 damage to the headquarters, taking that 20 down to a 17, right? So that makes sense. Now we've got these other 2 things left over. This guy does melee damage, which again, that's 2 adjacent units, right? I can't do damage to his headquarters, say by doing this. You know, that's aimed at him. That would only be ranged. We haven't seen a ranged one. So I may want to box his headquarters in. That might be nice. Box his headquarters. Bam. So now if the headquarters somehow gets rid of this guy and moves, the only way he can move is away. So I like that. And this guy, by the way, when he attacks, he'll attack the headquarters doing 1 point of damage, but he'll also attack this module, the movement module, which 1 damage on any of these things takes them out, unless they have toughness or have some other module attached to them, or in the case of an HQ, you have to get 20, right? So then I take this one and I go, this one I don't really need, but let me explain it to you because it's a common one. It's one that you see constantly, right? This is called a medic. And a medic, when attached to another unit, if that unit takes damage from one source. So let's say there's 3 different guys that are going to attack this guy right here. One of them attacks and does 3 damage to him. Instead of that one source doing 3 damage, I can remove the medic. Now the other guys would end up doing damage to him, right? So you can't, even if it's in the same number, like on 3, 2 different sources do 1 damage to him, so he gets a total of 2 damage. That medic doesn't absorb 2 damage. He'll only absorb 1 damage from one of those sources. That's it. So that's how the medic works. So anyway, we're going to throw that away. Hopefully we get a ranged one out here. Oh, good. There we go. Now he's going to draw 3, and he's got 2 ranged attacks. By the way, this is ranged and melee. So on this guy, if we put him this way, if the Borgo, the blue guy, puts one here, I can attack him with my melee. But as it is right now, I've got a range that can come all the way across and attack him there. Bam. Yep. Please ask questions. I'm just trying to run through this stuff, give you guys a good overview. So we've got those. Now, if I wanted to, I could put this guy over here and I could have 2 attacks on him. So now he's got 4 attacks on me. I've got 2 attacks on him. That's possible. That seems okay. And I'd have to get rid of the battle token. Or I could go ahead and get rid of this guy and play the battle token. But if I played battle, I'd only do 1 damage to him, and he would do 4 damage to me. So we wouldn't want to do that, right? So we throw the battle away and go, well, I'm just going to get rid of that battle. I'm going to put this guy over here. And I've spread out my guys. Now remember, I think when we were looking at the rule book, right? When we were looking at the rule book, we found that Borgo has a hand grenade. Well, hand grenade takes out groups of people that are next to each other. So the idea of putting these guys out away from each other instead of right next to each other, because look, I could put this guy here, and I need to show you this anyway. I could put this guy here, and he would do 1 damage by ranged and 1 damage by melee, right? And this guy would do 1 damage by range. So he actually gets to shoot over his guys. You could put him all the way back here, actually. And he would shoot past all of this and hit the first opponent. So he would hit this guy here and take him out, right? Now, the one thing to remember is we do it in turn order when we do battles, right? So remember, this +1 initiative goes towards this guy because he's next to it. So he has a 4. So that means this guy gets to attack on a 4. This guy gets to attack on a 3. On a 4, this guy will kill this guy, and he won't ever get to attack. So that's how that initiative order works and what we're trying to do with those initiative orders, right? So that's why I put this guy out here. So he's not going to get killed by the 4. And I spread them out because we don't want that darn hand grenade to go off, right? So there we go. That's that turn. And you just keep on doing that. We've got, Borgo draws 3 more. And he's got 2 great units, and he's got 1 action. The action is a movement. And so he can use that. Let me talk a little bit about this. This will be helpful. So this unit here, he's going to get killed by this guy, right? That's what you're thinking. Because this guy going to go off on a 4 and attack this 2, right? What's up, Spencer? I know it's being worked on, but is there a timeline update or an update for iOS? Neuroshima, yeah, it's not working versus AI on either my iPhone or iPad. Maybe I need to buy you definitely need to buy an Android phone. Android phones are better. No, I know that one of the things that they're working on is a new, I think the problem, just to be frank, and just know this, the captain is an official Portal guy. I love Portal. Portal is, I love Ignacy and all this, but one of the things is that I'm just a volunteer, right? But I'll tell you what I think I know, and what I think I know is that the people who were working on that app just kind of got overwhelmed with stuff. And that's one of the reasons that we didn't get some of the other factions and whatnot. It's because they just couldn't keep up with it. There were problems. And then we started having bug problems and stuff like that. And I think basically what's taken place now is we're starting over. I think Ignacy has found a new group. I don't think he likes computers anyway, so anyone associated with computers, like computer programmers, are probably the bane of his existence. But I think he found somebody that he can work with, and I think that the new app will be coming out. They said sometime at the end of this year. Ignacy said some choice words, and I could understand them too. They weren't Polish choice words; they were regular choice words, and basically said he doesn't think it'll be out until the early part of 2021. So the first half of 2021, if Moloch doesn't attack, we should have a new app. Should be reworked, reprogrammed, and hopefully we'll start getting a lot of expansions and stuff like that and get all the different expansions. It'd be really cool if they could incorporate some of the promos and stuff like that. You know, there's all these things that we hope that we can get, but yeah, I love the app that I use, and if you watch my normal streams, you'll see me using them. I'll be hanging out doing that stuff, and I use my phone, which is an Android, so I use my phone to stream to the computer. So everything that you watch me do on Mondays and Tuesdays on Twitch, you'll watch me play Neuroshima through that app. It makes it nice. It also helps me to understand the rules better and gives you lots of practice. So I really enjoy the app and using the app, even though it's not necessarily the cleanest, best one. They are going to be coming out with one, but man, the app is cheap and I use the heck out of it. And so, you know, and then there's always, if you have a good, group of people, all you need is one more person. And actually, you can do a lot of solo stuff. You got those puzzles and stuff. I mean, those are pretty neat. So there's a lot you can do with the physical game. Tony, you did not see all the stuff that I showed before. Tony asked if this game is a few years old and how many expansions they had for it. And so, just to touch on that, Neuroshima Hex, the original, came out in 2006. It originally had 4 armies in it, and now we have 14 more. So we have at least 14 more. We have 18 different armies that we can use, different factions. So yes, it's had some expansions, including, I think, 8, maybe 8 promos. So like additional tiles, whether they're Alabama or the Orbital or the Assassin or Mad Bomber. So don't mean to jump ahead, but what is a good first expansion faction to look into after learning the 4 base? So that's a really good question. Like, what can I take on that's going to give me variety, but not like overwhelming? Like Mephisto is really super crazy, right? It's super crazy, but it's fun. It really is. It's fun, but it's a little crazy. Mississippi is kind of weird because they use poison. If I were you, I think New York, Steel Police. I think, yes, Spencer, New York, right. I think that's right. I think New York or Steel Police would be a great next step, right? Steel Police is kind of weird. Think like Black in Magic the Gathering. Think Black, where like you get gains if you make sacrifices. So that Steel Police has some of that going on. So anyway. All right, I think I answered that. So back to this. What I want to tell you about this one. And hey, thanks, by the way. You guys interrupt me. I would rather just talk to you and answer questions than to go over all this, honestly. But I don't mind doing this. I mean, I love doing it. I live for that. I do this twice a week. Anyway, the deal is this guy's going to go off on a 4, and you would think that would kill this guy. But what it would actually do is this guy has a shield in this little gold circle, and that means he has toughness. So that gives one additional what is it called? HP, health point, whatever you want to call it. So he would actually just get a damage on him instead of getting killed. So most people, like this guy, if he took 1 damage, he'd be gone because he doesn't have toughness. So every tile on the board only has 1, but this guy's got toughness. And so, bam. So that 4 would hit him, right? But then this guy would attack that guy. Now, one of the things that we could do, let me do this, is like that. So on a 4, this guy would have hit him and do 1 damage. Now this guy would hit him and do 2 damage because he's got 1 ranged and 1. And remember, ranged hits the first enemy. So it'll go as far as you need to down this one line until it hits the first enemy. And this guy would actually hit the shield. You see this black border? That black border stops 1 ranged attack. So that ranged would not penetrate. However, this melee would be the death of that guy. So that second melee would be the death of him before he ever got a shot off at 2. All right? So that's what's up with that. So that's a look at toughness and also a look at armor. So armor blocks only ranged attacks, and it only blocks 1. So if you had a guy that had a double attack, and I think they've got one in here, maybe. Good Lord. Trying to find any of them. You know what? I know where one is. Right here. So this guy here, right? He's got these 2 long triangles next to him. So that means he will shoot a ranged attack on a 2. He'll shoot in this direction, but his ranged attack will do 2 damage. So when he's up against a guy that has armor, one of those 2 would get blocked. The other one would actually do damage. Okay? And this guy has, not only does he have that 1 shield, but he's got 2 toughness. So if this guy were to shoot him this way, one of them would get blocked, the other one would do damage to him. So we put 1 damage on him, but it would take 3 damage to actually take that out. So that's just a blocker. He has no attacks, right? Let's see. Oh, I'll let this go too long. Mephisto is really cool. I love Mephisto, and we can talk about it a little bit. I just recently did a review on Mephisto on Tuesday. So if you want to go back on Twitch and look at our videos, my video on Tuesday talks about Mephisto, along with Sand Runners and Iron Gang. All 3 of them are pretty interesting. I think Sand Runners is probably the easiest of the 3 to actually use. But anyway. You like Dancer, yeah? Yeah. Luke likes Dancer. No, you do not take friendly fire damage. No. And when you're playing in team play, you don't take friendly fire damage either. The only exception to this, and it's a weird exception, I think it's at the end of this book. It talks about team play, multiplayer game. It talks about team play. Oh, where is it? Moloch in a team match. Moloch is a unique army in the game. Its units hit and damage friendly units as usual, but modules and HQs give them bonuses. So you can use your buddies, your partners, HQs and stuff. But you actually, if you've got it aimed at your guy, at your friend takes the damage. You can actually use push against him, which you can use that in strategic ways to, instead of, I don't have a movement, but I can push you. And so you can push him in the right direction possibly. But of course he doesn't get to change his facing. That's another thing that we can talk about. So, so Moloch would be the only exception to no, you don't take friendly fire. Yep. So, so let's see. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Oh, I see what you're saying, because I was doing those two. Yeah, you're right. Right, that was just an example. Sorry. I need to talk about some of the other common ones. So those are battles. And we could do a battle just for the heck of it. These are modules. So these modules would give +1. So this guy would actually go off on a 2 now. We can use movement to move guys. So if I did movement on that guy there, I could actually take him and move him. And when you move, you get to change your facing if you want. As a matter of fact, you can use a movement just to change your facing and not actually move him. Okay? So he could move here, and we could, I don't know, do that for the heck of it. And so that's movement. We talked about the medic. This guy gives you a plus to your melee attack. So we could do something like this. And let's see, what else do we have? We got a net. So we could net this guy. Boom. And so he would be netted and wouldn't get an attack. More damage. Here's a push. So on a push, what you would normally do is, let's say, move that net for now. Pretend this guy isn't here. So I could use a push on my headquarters and push this guy. Now, the thing to know about pushes is that when you push a guy, you can't bring him alongside of you, right? You're actually pushing him away. So he should end up, there should be one space between you, the pusher, and the tile that you pushed. So the only place this guy could go is here. That's if I pushed him from the headquarters. Now, if I pushed him from this module, this move module, he could go here or here. Does that make sense? So that's how a push would work. Now, because my headquarters is netted, I couldn't use a netted unit cannot push. He's netted. How can he push, right? So a netted unit can't push. So I could use push on this guy and could push this net guy away, which is what I would do. So let's say I did that. Now, this guy can move either here or here because he's moving away from this module. So does he move here or here, right? It's his choice, not yours, not the pusher's choice. So he may decide that what he's going to do is move here. All right. Now, his net is not on this guy anymore. It immediately goes away. Okay. So he is not netting anyone. If anyone goes here, it would be netted. No friendly netting, though. So there's that. Now, let's just say that we play one of these battle tiles. Let's just say a battle goes off. Let me show you what a battle does. All right. So the first thing we look for is the highest number. In Neuroshima Hex, we don't put extra markers on there. You have to actually look at it. So this one is a 3. +1 would make him a 4. The reason I say we don't put markers on there is because the new game, Monolith Arena, very similar mechanics, but different theme. They actually have little markers so that you can actually put a 4 on here just to remind you that he's getting a +1, right? So anyway, he is a 4. No one else has any other benefit. So this guy goes off first. Oh, wait, he doesn't have a +1. That's not his. That's the other guy's. That's Borgo's. What's bad is I'm playing both sides, so I'm getting confused. So anyway, he would be a 3. This guy would be a 3. This guy would be a 3, but he's netted from this guy. That's it. So all the 3s go off simultaneously. So this 3 would do 1 point of damage to the headquarters. So the headquarters start out with 20 damage, or start out with 20 points. And this guy shoots and does 1 damage. So that moves 1. This guy shoots, does 1 damage. So it moves another 1. This guy would have attacked him and taken him out on the same turn, except that he's netted, so he doesn't get to attack. He would actually do 2 damage because this is attached to there. So even if he had toughness, it would take him out, right? So that's how that works. That's 3. And then we look at 2s. All right. So this guy is 2. So basically, this guy's headquarters starts out on a 20. He has a +1 to his attack. So he does 2 melee damage to the headquarters. Boom, boom. And then that's 2. And then we look for any other 2s. There's no other 2s. Then we look for 1s. This guy's a 1, but he's attacking no one. Oh, by the way, that 2 also would attack this way and do 2 damage. And he would attack this way and do 2 damage, which takes out this module. Because it's only 1 to take out any tile on the board, except if they have toughness. Last few minutes of Neuroshima flash sale. Oh, yeah. Go and get it. Oh, we're almost out of time here. So anyway, that gives you an idea of that. That's 2. And then we do 1s. He doesn't have anything. And then we do 0s. This 0 goes off and kills this guy. 1 melee damage. This 0 goes off and kills this guy and this guy. Right? And then the next player, if the yellow played the battle token at that point, then the blue player would draw 3 tiles and play would continue. So that gives you a real good idea of like some of the mechanics and the interactions between the things and sort of the basics on how you do it. The rule book is fairly thorough and can really help you out, but basically what you need to look at is when you get a set of tiles, you're going to look at these right here. And just to quickly show you what that looks like, here's Steel Police, and they give you sort of the background, tactical advice, that kind of stuff, which is really nice. And then they give you the special rules, but what you really need to read is this right here. This will tell you what each tile does. And then it may give you some different ideas from that. Like the judge has reflection. Well, what's reflection do? Here's what it does. So that's a special mark on the judge. And so we need to look at that and see what it does. And then, like I said, it goes on and tells you more stuff about the net of steel, which I call the net of justice. And then more on pacifiers and on reflection. So that's more stuff, more examples. So it does go into like what's special about this one, what's this army introducing. So each of them will have their own thing and tell you what all is in there. It also shows you like you have 10 move tiles on this one and 7 pushbacks. So this one is crazy because it is 3 headquarters. You have some action tiles, lots of action tiles. So that is a little nuts. So you can get it, right? It tells you how many of each one you have and what they do. So you get a faction, you look at that. What's nice too, to keep in mind, is when you open up the thing, when you draw the tiles, you actually play them open so that everyone on the board can see them. So if you have questions about it because you're a new player, someone can help you out. You can discuss what we think that this one does and that kind of thing, and agree on the rules. So even if we don't quite understand the rules, we can decide how we're going to play it this time. And then maybe we can look it up later, right? Of course, that's how I play all the games. I never play the right way. I just wing it. Anyway, I hope that this stuff was helpful. I hope it was helpful. I will say, I was looking here. Here's the Neuroshima on the website, and we've got $35 on Neuroshima Hex. We got all the different things. You get a T-shirt for $7.50. You get a poster. You can get bundles. So we got all the factions there as well. And remember, you can also pre-order the troglodytes, right? So, all right, I'm going to drink some water, and then we're going to do monolith. All right? So, I'll see you back here in just a couple minutes. See you guys.